Hey, and welcome back to my podcast. My name is Mike Doherty, and you're listening to Mr. Blackheart Podcast. Hello. Hey friends, thanks for coming back, or if this is your first time, welcome to the Mr. Blackheart Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Doherty. I am very attractive, even though you can't see me, and I'm stoked that you're here for me to talk to, /at. It's been a whole week since we last hung out, and I talked at you, and so much has happened. I've learned how to edit audio. I have like this cool new little jingle thing, and I'm even using a different computer to record this on. So I'm like a whole nother person at this point, really. I've changed hair colors like 10 times since we last talked. And I've burnt my scalp and it's scabby, so that's cute. Today I wanted to talk about things that I think are really annoying, and I kind of feel like other people are also gonna feel like are also annoying. And I wanted to talk about the hashtag Free Britney movement because, I mean, I do kind of talk about it because I think it's kind of trolly, and I'm obviously kind of into that. But I think there's like a lot there to think about and unpack and all of that, and I think most of my friends and most of my straight friends have no idea what's going on. So I'd love to talk about that and just kind of be like, when people ask me about it, I can just point them here, to be honest, and be like, here's what I think, so I don't have to repeat it, because I talk a lot and I don't feel like, I feel like if we can make it a little less, that's the nice thing. So before we jump in, I actually wanted to just say, if you hear crazy noises, it's probably my dogs, because I have 3, and they're insane, and they're usually running around and playing. They chew holes in the wall sometimes, unless you're my leasing agent and you're listening to this, in which they've never done that before. I'm really good at patching holes in the wall now, though, so it's like definitely NBD. But they're crazy, and they have a lot of energy, just like their dad. So if you hear anything, that's what it is, and it is what it is. So I do want to also have like a corrections kind of thing, because as I was editing this, I realized that I said that Britney Spears' breakdown was in 2008, which it was in 2007. And I also said that conservatorships are for people who are in what are they called? Comas, which is factual, but that's not the only instance in which they're used. So it could be like someone who's got like Alzheimer's, or someone who just like can't mentally take care of themselves or physically. So like someone who might have like special needs and can't like manage their finances or something like that. So it's not just for people who are in comas, like they're included, but other people too. So just figured I'd say that. So yeah. But things that are annoying. So the first thing I've recently realized is something that like I've been aware of, and I'm not a patient person. So lines just make me want to die. But with this whole like stupid hours thing, because of this whole pandemic thing, like lines have been kind of out of control at Starbucks. And like Starbucks is always pretty bad, because there's just a lot of lazy people who just want to sit in their car and get their family a bunch of frappuccinos with their 1,200 calorie drinks that they can't walk to the counter for. None of them have any coffee inside of the drinks, but nonetheless, they're willing to wait like 30-45 minutes in a fucking car for a milkshake. And these people are literally the bane of my existence. The one near me, the Starbucks near me, I should say, like stopped having their cafe open, which is like super dumb because they still have the drive-thru open, and the line is like literally wrapped around the building. And people, I waited in line the other day, and it was literally 30 minutes sitting in my car waiting for Starbucks. And I know what you're thinking. You're like, well, why would you wait in line for a Starbucks when you can just make your own coffee or go to insert other place? But I used to work at Starbucks when I was in high school, which I have a theory that they somehow indoctrinate people and make them gay. Because every gay man has worked at Starbucks or is like affiliated somehow. Almost. It's not like a foolproof science thing. But I like really can't drink other coffee and find satisfaction in it because it's just not as good and it's not as strong. And I order Trentas, and like nowhere has Trenta cups. I mean, maybe McDonald's and Dunkin' Donuts, which if it's kind of like nothing or those, I'll drink them. But if it's like, you know, wait in line for an hour or drink those, it's like, well, if I have an hour, like, you know, I'm not going to choose to eat dirt. But I have this like weird confusion as to why people are so down to wait in line. I think it's like for Starbucks and Chick-fil-A. It seems like people are literally willing to wait all day for a frappuccino and for one of those like chicken sandwiches. And it's literally any time you drive by a Starbucks or any time you drive by a Chick-fil-A, the fucking line is all the way around the building. And it just like confuses me so much as to like why you would do that. You can just eat a chicken sandwich literally anywhere else. I don't understand what that means. I mean, you can't get Starbucks anywhere else, but I usually just walk in. And even then, it's like the cafe, the inside, is usually empty. And it's like, I don't get it. I don't get why people just want to drive through. Like, what is wrong with people that they can't walk inside of places and get things? I feel like we have become like the people in WALL-E, in the movie WALL-E, who just like go around in their little like hover rounds, and like none of their bones are connected because they never leave their chairs, and they just like have all this instant stuff with technology. I feel like that's what we've become. Well, not me, because I don't do that, but like people who are these frappuccino families who just like can't get out of the car and order like Mary Sue, you know, venti vanilla bean frappuccino with caramel drizzle on it. And it's just like, it's so crazy to me. Because also being from working in Starbucks, and I don't speak for Starbucks, obviously, but those people who get like all these stupid frou-frou drinks like frappuccinos and like iced quad venti skinny caramel macchiatos, it's just like, go somewhere else. Like for the frappuccinos especially, it's like you're just getting a milkshake, so you don't even go here. Go home. So that's kind of my thing that I've just realized is terrible. So if you're able to mobile order, which is like for the people who know what they're doing, and when like this cafe, I think that's what it's called, the cafe that I usually go to, the Starbucks I should say, like their mobile ordering is down. They're not doing any in-cafe stuff. So basically, they don't exist as far as I'm concerned anymore. You're dead to me. So I just can't. I just can't. And I don't understand why people are so okay with just sitting in line all day when like the end result is probably just not even that good, you know? So that's like thing number one. Thing number two is something that I do feel like it's a collective shared experience, because I'm not sure how many other people have such like intense disdain for such vapid first world problems as me. But I feel like this is a thing that's real, and it's like it's like dating. Um, it's like when you go on a date with someone and you're like, oh, well, that was good. And you go on like multiple dates after that. And then all of a sudden they're like really busy, allegedly, from what they tell you. But then they like look at all of your Instagram stories and all of your Snapchats for the rest of your life. And like that's this like level of dedication that I just don't fully comprehend, because for me, it's like if we're not talking anymore and we've only hung out like 2 or 3 times and we just like made out a little bit, like I don't know you. I'm going to unfollow you on all your stuff because I don't really care about your stupid life. Like, good luck on your endeavors and stuff. But that also confuses me and kind of blows my mind when they're like, oh, I'm busy, but I still want to hang out, but I can't. But maybe. And you're just like, what does that mean? So you're like very, very busy. But you definitely make time to make sure that you watch everything that I ever post forever. And it just seems so weird to me. So to all of those boys out there, and probably girls out there that do that to other like straight guys or girls or whatever, you're the worst. Fuck off. Unfollow people. Go away. You're annoying. No one wants you to be like a creep and a spy forever. Either you, as the great Nicki Minaj once said, if you ain't shitting, then get off the pot. So if you're just like not feeling it, that's fine. Like, I know that I'm a real gem and I don't need you to say that I am. So if you're not feeling it, then leave. But like, really go. Like, you don't have to just stalk me forever because it's fucking weird. So I don't pay attention to like real news as far as like this state is shutting down and here's what's happening to stocks or like presidential elections, because I did that for a long time and it's like kind of whack. So most of my news that I read is things like the Kardashians and hashtag free Britney, where, you know, like, is Khloe getting back with Tristan, which I think is like such a non-story for me, but it's always there, you know, and like always knowing when like Beyonce dropped Black as King and watching that the night it comes out, because those are the important things for me. But like what's going on in Syria and, you know, insert another foreign country. It's just kind of like, think local, act local. Like, I get it. I feel like it's good that some people care about it and stuff, but I feel like my life has been a lot easier since I haven't been doing that, because really my opinions on like our foreign policy and things that we should be doing have no bearing on anything. So yeah, let's talk about hashtag free Britney. So Britney Jean Spears is the one that I refer to as Godney, because she's a queen and we don't deserve her, as I've said before. The whole hashtag free Britney, this is not going to be as like an intense of a dive as if you were to listen to like, I think it's Eat, Pray, Britney. That's a really good podcast about, you know, Britney. And there's another one that I love that's called We Need to Talk About Britney, but she got really COVID-y, so I had to stop listening. But she doesn't really focus on the free Britney because, I mean, it's Jen Zabrowski, and she's right. Like, we have no idea what's actually happening. But that's what makes it even better, is we can just speculate and make a bunch of things up collectively as a group. But Britney Spears has been performing obviously for her entire life. And she was like the breadwinner for her family. And I kind of feel like this whole, maybe this is like way out, but I feel like that whole like celebrity child making money for their family and like being the sole breadwinner isn't really that much of a thing anymore, because it kind of seems like that's how like Michael Jackson was and that's how Britney was. But like Taylor Swift, her family was super wealthy and they kind of paid to get her to where she is. And same thing with like Ariana Grande. So I feel like a lot of these kids are like, their parents aren't necessarily like starving and living off their backs like Shia LaBeouf type story. So I think that's kind of what just makes the whole thing sadder, is that like she was kind of like forced into this for forever, and then she's in this weird robotic situation. So let's just like even separate this whole thing. Cue transition music. So Britney Spears started out on the Mickey Mouse Club, which had Christina Aguilera, JC Chasez, Ryan Gosling, Justin Timberlake, which Justin and JC were in NSYNC. And I feel like it's kind of weird that like her and Justin dated. It feels really cringy to me, as in like, but I kind of don't think it was real. Like I kind of feel like it was one of those planned for PR type situations, just so they'd be, you know, in tabloids and stuff. So, but it's just kind of creepy that they were like always together and just like raised in this weird petri dish and like probably forced to date, and then became like the quote unquote it couple. But the Canadian tuxedo pictures were fire. So I mean, if we got one thing out of it, it's at least a Canadian tuxedo situation. So yeah, she was on the Mickey Mouse Club, and then she started with her first album, which was had Hit Me Baby One More Time, and it was like the whole innocent Catholic schoolgirl thing. And I think this whole thing also is why gays like her so much, because like I feel like being gay now is like less taboo, but even then it wasn't something that people were open about. So I feel like, and I've even researched as to like why gays like Britney so much, because obviously I'm into it, and it's just a whole concept of like they can feel empowered and like this raw sexuality and live vicariously through these pop icons, which is like people usually gravitate towards like a Britney or a Christina or a Mariah Carey, or I think even now like Ariana Grande. So for me it was Britney, and it was the whole concept of like this raw sex appeal, and sex in the concept of like the act and the physicality of it, not necessarily the like follow through of sex. So it's more of like a behavior and like a power, and less of this like just being slutty type thing. So it's just kind of like in the way she moves, and just that I feel like really got me. So that was a nice sidebar. And then after that, she had her Oops, I Did It Again album, which Stronger is still one of my like top 3 favorite songs. It's an anthem, and I feel like it's just the best. And I still remember where I was when I heard it. My older brother was babysitting me, and we were playing like a game, because we were at that age where it was like when your siblings watch you, you're like babysitting, and they would play games with you, and it was, they didn't see it as like you're just like home with me. We were like, I'm your babysitter, let's do activities. So we were playing some like word game, like a hangman type thing, and it came on like Nick at Night, when like Nick Cannon was like the host still for like music videos, and they premiered them on Nick at Night because they definitely knew their target demographic, and it just blew my mind. So I would implore you to just watch Stronger, the video again. And if you've never seen it, now's your time. Just like really seize the moment. And then she went on to just like continue to make albums and just be amazing. And I mean, really, I've heard stories. There was like Mandy Moore was on the We Need to Talk About Britney podcast, and she basically had said, she was like, we were different. Like, I never hung out with Britney because she was like a different level of famous than I ever was. So Mandy Moore was able to like go to red carpets and talk to people, and people like Britney Spears were just kind of like at the events, but then were surrounded by a team and like no one was allowed to talk to her. And I feel like that whole concept of like her entire life has been really insular. And when I talk about it with other people, I feel like she is like a modern day, like one of our last icons who are like Michael Jackson, where it's like they were amazing and they did contribute a lot to the entertainment industry and to music and to performing. But their lives were kind of like so controlled to the point where they were like prisoners, that it's super sad to see that truth of that situation, and kind of like also know that we all had a hand in chaining them to this life and keeping them prisoners in this weird like being like circus elephants type situation. So I mean, I think that whole thing, she worked her entire life, like all she's done since the time she was on the Mickey Mouse show, she was like 11, has been trying to get there up to that point, and then just performing and interviewing and rehearsing and recording. And that sounds really terrible and sad. And her whole goal was to just like get a house, move to Louisiana when she had enough money, and we pretty much like were like, nope. Give me more, as they say. So in like 2008, she had her mental breakdown, and then they did a conservatorship, which her dad, I believe, is the one who controls that. And basically those are for people who are like in comas. So I don't think anyone would disagree that she was in kind of a bad place when she shaved her head. But from that came the album Blackout, which is amazing, which has Gimme More, Piece of Me. You may have heard of those. Toy Soldier, Get Naked. And it was supposed to be like a temporary thing, which 2008 was 12 years ago at this point. And she's since had like several albums and several tours. She did her whole Las Vegas residency. She's made perfumes, lingerie line. She's toured outside of the Vegas residency. She's got her 2 kids, like a house. She like does things. So she seems like someone that it wouldn't really apply to. But it's like she's kind of stuck legally because she's not allowed to get a lawyer. She can't control her own money. Like during this process, they kind of relegated her to have no legal control over anything. So she's really stuck and kind of like a prisoner in her own life currently. The most recent thing was that Jamie Lynn, her little sister, apparently already has some control over Britney's trust that she has set up for Britney's 2 kids, but she's trying to get more control. So it's just a weird situation that she's like 38 and she can't go anywhere by herself. She can't drive. She can't spend her own money. Like her dad is taking a salary from her for controlling her money, which she's been trying to like get someone else to be her conservator. But when she got married to one of her husbands in the past, they like transferred her conservatorship to like add him to the list, which is also really weird because it's this like super weird concept of like, congratulations, now you own my daughter. So it's just a messed up situation because it seems like she's trapped, and she definitely seems crazy. Like, if you look at her Instagram, like, she seems like she's out of there, but she has to take medication, and if she doesn't, they basically put her in like psychiatric treatment and force her to take her medication. So there's really like no way out of this for her. And that's why people are like standing up and speaking out. And some of her like team from the past have come out with like letters she's given them to tell the public, which they held on to because they were scared. And it's like super crazy that this could be a thing. But like I said, I mean, I feel like she's on that same level of like Amy Winehouse, which, I mean, she's much more iconic than, or like Michael Jackson, because I really feel like a lot of that was just this crazy like propaganda and team and label type control, because there were so many people who were feeding off of him from like a monetary standpoint, and his entire life was just this shell of like, you are a product, you're not a person. And I feel like Britney is the same with like a Judy Garland type, like injecting terrible things in you that ruin your body and medicating you and doing all this stuff to just prop you up to make you more willing to go along with it, I guess, and willing to just like perform and do what you have to do and stop fighting back. To be compliant, I guess, would be the word. So when you hear us talking about hashtag free Britney, that's where it's coming from. It's basically like, this woman is 38, she can't spend her own money, and she's worth like $60 million, and she has an allowance, and her dad gets paid to like handle her money, and she can't hire a lawyer to get out of her conservatorship, and she has all of these like super big constraints on her visitation rights and all of that with her kids. And since she can't go anywhere and she's quarantined, she's basically just, all she can do is like the weird stuff that we see on Instagram. Because even though she has like a mansion, it is her prison. Like, she can't leave, she can't go anywhere. So all she has is her weird fashion shows and her selfies in her garden. And I think that when you look at that level or that aspect of like fame and stuff, it seems terrible, because it's like, oh, like the American dream is like, oh, if you work hard, you can have, you know, a big house and a mansion and stuff. And it's like, she wasn't really smart or educated, and she, you know, she worked her entire life, and is kind of the American dream. But then the reality of that is like, she's a prisoner, and she's stuck, and she's controlled by the people that funded her to like be able to live there. So it's this like horrible dichotomy of like, you know, icon living in a giant mansion, but she can't leave. So it's pretty dark, and she can't spend any money or do anything. So all she has is her fashion shows and talking about her books and the, you know, putting up weird quotes on Instagram. So part of the things that I like to do are to watch her fashion shows and stuff, because I think that she's still an icon, and we should be thankful that really she taught us so much, because she's amazing and I will love her forever. I'm probably going to get a matching tattoo with her. If you have ever seen her tattoos, she has like a couple, but she has like a kissy lip print on her wrist. So I'm probably going to get that. And I'm trying to decide if I want it on my wrist or if I want it on my hip or something. But as like a mother and son tattoo. But she's amazing, and I'm going to love her forever. So I signed all the petitions and stuff, and I would implore you to do the same, to hashtag free Britney, and let's just let this girl do her thing and be able to just, if she wants to tour, and if she wants to buy her house in Louisiana and just go disappear, let's just let her, because it's really sad. And she's kind of spent literally her entire life, almost 40 years, trying to entertain people and being a prisoner, and she's never had her own thing. Like, she can't do anything at all. So that's that. Thanks so much for listening today, guys. I hope I didn't lose everyone with the hashtag Free Britney, but I hope that you maybe know a little bit more about the situation, or at least entertained by, like, how the things that I find important and I find value in, and I put stock in. Because, you know, it's the little things sometimes. And at least now you maybe know why gays like the Britney so much. So if you're listening, and you're still listening, hit the follow button on Spotify, or subscribe, or whatever the button is on the platform you're listening to. And let's just keep the good times rolling. You know what I'm saying? Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next week. Later.